Hi everyone. In this video, we will be reviewing the Section 3 multiple choice questions from Practice Test 10. It can be found for free on College Board's website. I will include the link in the description. Let's get started. So let's take a look at question 1. The equation it gives me is 2z plus 1 is equal to z. And then the question asks, what value of z satisfies the equation above? So if I write out my equation, 2z plus 1 is equal to z, I'm trying to get z alone. So the first thing I want to do is combine my like terms. So I'm subtracting z from both sides. That'll leave me with z plus 1 is equal to 0. And again, I'm trying to get z alone. So I can subtract 1 from both sides, and I get z is equal to -1, which matches answer choice B. There is another way I can think about this question. So again, it asks what value of z satisfies the equation above? Well, I know my answer either has to be -2, -1, 1/2, or 1. So what I'm going to do is assume that one of my answers is correct and see if my question works with that as my answer. So again, if my equation is 2z plus 1 is equal to z, I can assume that one of these values is correct. And since we already did the work, I'm going to use answer choice B. So I have 2 times, again, we're assuming that the value of z is -1, plus 1 is equal to that value of -1 for z. If I do the math out, I get 2 times -1, which is -2, plus 1 is equal to -1. -2 plus 1 is -1, which is equal to -1, so my equation makes sense again with B as my answer. Question 2 says a television with a price of $300 is to be purchased with an initial payment of $60 and weekly payments of $30. Which of the following equations can be used to find the number of weekly payments, W, required to complete the purchase assuming there are no taxes or fees? So the setup I want to use for this question is going to be my line equation. Y is equal to mx plus b. It says the television had a price of $300, so that's going to be my Y value is equal to my initial payment was $60, so that's my B value. Because no matter how many weeks have passed, my initial $60 payment is not going to change. And then weekly payments of $30, and I'm going to represent that with 30W. So as you can see, answer choice C matches my equation, and that's going to be my answer. Question 3 gives us a table, and it says the table above shows shipping charges for an online retailer that sells sporting goods. There's a linear relationship between the shipping charge and the weight of the merchandise. Which function can be used to determine the total shipping charge, f of x, in dollars for an order with a merchandise weight of x pounds? So the first thing I noticed is that it said it's a linear relationship. So that tells me I'm going to be using my line equation, which is y is equal to mx plus b. So the point that stands out to me right away is here. When merchandise weight is 10 pounds, the shipping charge is $21.89. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that point, I'm going to plug it into my 4 equations to see which function gives me the value that I'm looking for. So if I start with answer choice A, I'm going to have 0.99 times 10, right? And I'm looking for a value of 21.89, but this is going to give me 9.9. So I know that A is not going to be my answer. Answer choice B, I'm going to have the same setup of 0.99 times 10, only I'm adding 11.99. So if you do that math, you'll see that that is equal to 21.89. So B is going to be my answer, but I'll show you what happens when you do the math for C and D as well. So here I'm going to get 3.3 33.39 times 10. So that's going to give me 33.90. So that's not what I'm looking for. And then answer choice D, I'm going to have 3.39 times 10 plus 16.94. And that's going to give me 50.84. So I know D is not going to be my answer either. And if you looked, the first point is x is equal to 5, y is equal to 16.94. So you could cross off D using that method anyway, because you know your y-intercept is not going to be 16.94. Question 4 says, the line in the xy plane above represents the relationship between the height, h of x, in feet, and the base diameter, x, in feet, for the cylindrical Doric columns in ancient Greek architecture. How much greater is the height of a Doric column that has a base diameter of 5 feet than the height of a Doric column that has a base diameter of 2 feet? So just to highlight the important information, I'm comparing the column with a base diameter of 5 feet to a column with the base diameter of 2 feet. So when it gives you a graph, use it to your advantage, because all you have to do is take a look at what it gives you. So when x is equal to 5, you'll see y is equal to 35. And when x is equal to 2, you'll see y is equal to 14. So now all I have to do is 35 minus 14, and that will give me a value of 21, which is going to be answer choice C. Number 5 gives us the expression the square root of 9x squared and asks if x is greater than 0, which of the following is equivalent to the given expression? So there are multiple ways to go about answering this question. So if I write down the expression, the square root of 9x squared, I could break this up and say the square root of 9 times the square root of x squared. The square root of 9 is 3, so just based off of that, I can cross off C and D as answer choices. And then if I wanted to rewrite the square root of x squared, I could say the square root of x squared, and the power is going to be my numerator, and my root is going to be my denominator. So in this case, that would look like x to the 2 divided by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1, so that would leave me with just x. So my answer would be answer choice A. The second way is it tells me x is greater than 0. So if I made up a value for x, and I just said x was equal to 2, then I would have the square root of 9x, which I'm saying is 2 squared, the square root of 9 times 4, which would be the square root of 36, which is equal to 6. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through each of my answer choices and see. If I say x is equal to 2, which answer choice matches the solution that I found of 6? So like I said, I made up a value of x is equal to 2. So for answer choice A, I would have 3 times 2, which is equal to 6. So that checks out. Answer choice B, I would have 3 times 2 squared, which would be 3 times 4, which is 12. So that doesn't match the 6 that I'm looking for, so I know B is wrong. Answer choice C, I would have 18 times 2, which is 36. Again, not what I'm looking for. And then answer choice D, I'd have 18 times 2 to the 4th, which would be 18 times 16. And if you multiply those out, you would get 288, which again is not the answer we're looking for. So either way, you'll get A as your answer. Number 6 gives us the expression x squared minus 1 divided by x minus 1 is equal to negative 2, and it asks, what are all values of x that satisfy the equation above? So I'm not going to make it hard for myself because I know that value of x has to be one of these four options. And I'm going to start with x is equal to negative 3, because if negative 3 works, I've narrowed down my answers to either A or D, and if it doesn't work, I know my answers are either B or C, right? So if I do negative 3 squared minus 1 divided by negative 3 minus 1, I need to see, does that equal negative 2? Negative 3 squared is 9 minus 1 divided by negative 3 minus 1 will give me a negative 4. This will give me 8 over negative 4, which will leave me with negative 2, right? So negative 3 works. So I know my answer is either A or D. I just need to see if that negative 1 also works. So if I have negative 1 squared minus 1 divided by negative 1 minus 1, negative 1 squared would give me 1 minus 1 divided by negative 1 minus 1 would give me a negative 2. 1 minus 1 is 0, and 0 divided by anything would give me 0, right? So I know this expression does not work when x is equal to negative 1. So D does not work, which means that A must be my answer. Number 7 gives us a graph, and it says the graph of y is equal to f of x is shown in the xy plane. What is the value of f of 0? So it's important to remember the number inside your parentheses represents your x value when you're working with functions. So what this is really asking me is when x is 0, what is my y value? So just by looking at the graph that the test gives me, I can see when x is equal to 0, my y value is equal to 4. So my answer is going to be answer choice D, 4. Question 8 says, in the figure above, point B lies on line AD. What is the value of 3x? Okay, so it tells me angle ABC is a right angle. So if AD is a line, that would mean that angle CBD is also a right angle. So it has to be 90 degrees. So if I add up these three smaller angles, x plus 2x plus 2x, they would have to equal 90 degrees. If I combine my like terms, I'll get 5x is equal to 90. Get x alone, divide both sides by 5, and I'll get x is equal to 18, right? And be careful, because 18 is an answer choice, but it's not asking for x. It's asking for 3x. So I would have to do 18 times 3, and that is equal to 54. So my correct answer is going to be answer choice C. Number 9 gives us a graph and says, which of the following is an equation of line L in the xy plane above? One thing I noticed is my y-intercept is going to be 0, negative 4, and I also know I'm dealing with a negative slope. If I'm looking at my answer choices, I can't necessarily tell which answer choice matches my line. What I'm going to have to do is convert it into y is equal to mx plus b form. So if I go with answer choice A, I'll have x minus y is equal to negative 4. If I add y to both sides, I'll get x is equal to negative 4 plus y. Add 4 to both sides, and I get x plus 4 is equal to y. So I can tell this isn't going to be my answer, because not only do I not have that negative slope, my y-intercept is positive 4 when I'm looking for a negative 4. Answer choice B, I have x minus y is equal to 4, so I'm going to add y to both sides. I'll get x is equal to 4 plus y. subtract 4, subtract 4, and I get x minus 4 is equal to y. So although I have that y-intercept I'm looking for, my slope for answer choice B is positive, so this is not what I'm looking for. Answer choice C gives me x plus y is equal to negative 4. So if I subtract x from both sides, I'll get y is equal to negative x minus 4. So C is going to be my answer because I can tell I have that negative slope and I also have that y-intercept of negative 4 that I'm looking for. If you wanted to convert answer choice D into y is equal to mx plus b form, you can. So if I have x plus y is equal to 4, if I subtract x, I get y is equal to negative x plus 4. So I have that negative slope that I'm looking for, but my y-intercept is positive 4 when I want a negative 4. So C is going to be my answer. Number 10 gives me a parabola and says the graph of y is equal to 2x squared plus 10x plus 12 is shown. If the graph crosses the y-axis at point 0k, what is the value of k? So the equation they give us is written in standard form. So standard form for a quadratic is ax squared plus bx plus c, where c represents your y-intercept. Your y-intercept is when your x value is equal to 0, and the point it's asking for is 0k. So if I look at my equation, I just need to look at my c value to know that my y-intercept, the value of k, is going to be answer choice D, 12. Number 11 says, a circle in the xy plane has a center 5, 7 and a radius 2. Which of the following is an equation of the circle? Although it might not come up often, you do need to know your equation for a circle, which is going to be x minus h squared plus y minus k squared is equal to r squared, right? And here, hk represents the center of your circle, h being your x value and k being your y value. So if I were to plug in the points, it gives me center 5, 7 and radius 2. I have x minus 5, right? I'm subtracting a positive 5 squared plus y minus k, which is a positive 7. So I'm subtracting that positive 7 squared. Then it says radius of 2, so r squared is 4. This means my answer choice is going to be A. Question 12 gives me two triangles and says, in the figure above, triangle ABC is similar to triangle DEF. What is the value of cosine of E? A similar triangle basically tells me that my corresponding angles are going to be equal to one another. I also know that my corresponding sides are going to be proportional. So to answer this question, I actually don't need to know the lengths of the sides for triangle DEF. If I just wanted to make something up and said I had a 2-to-1 ratio, so DF would be 10, DE would be 24, and EF would be 26. So I have a 2-to-1 ratio. It's asking the cosine of E. So if you remember SOHCAHTOA, if I'm looking for the cosine, I'm looking for adjacent over hypotenuse. So I would have 24 over 26, which could then be simplified to 12 over 13, which is what I had in triangle ABC to begin with, because that's just basically my side in simplest forms. So my cosine of angle E would just be 12 over 13, answer choice B. Question 13 says, in the xy plane, the graph of the function f of x is equal to x squared plus 5x plus 4 has two x-intercepts. What is the distance between the x-intercepts? So when I'm looking for x-intercepts, I know my y value is equal to 0. So I'm going to set my equation equal to 0. I have x squared plus 5x plus 4 is equal to 0. And from here I need to factor. When I factor, I want my numbers to add to 5 and multiply to 4. So if I factor this out, I get x plus 4 times x plus 1 is equal to 0. So now I'm looking for my two x-intercepts. I'm going to start off, I'm just going to rewrite my equation. X plus 4 times x plus 1 is equal to 0. So if I'm looking for a value of x, what I can do is divide both sides by x plus 1. It'll cancel out on the left, and if I divide 0 by x plus 1, 0 divided by anything will just give me 0. So I get x plus 4 is equal to 0, and my x value is negative 4. I'm going to set the same thing. So I have x plus 4 times x plus 1 is equal to 0, only this time I'm dividing both sides by x plus 4. Again, so it'll cancel out on my left, and then 0 divided by anything is just 0. So I get x plus 1 is equal to 0, and my second value for x is negative 1. So these are going to be my two x-intercepts. The question asks for the distance between the x-intercepts, so I'm just going to subtract them from one another. If I have negative 4 minus a negative 1, right, my negatives cancel out, and I'll get a value of negative 3. So that's the difference between the x-intercepts, so the distance is just 3 units. Answer choice C. Question 14 gives me the expression the square root of 4x is equal to x minus 3. And it asks, what are all values of x that satisfy the given equation? And it only gives me two options. It's either 1 or 9. And my answer choices are either 1 only, 2 only, both 1 and 2, or neither 1 nor 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these values of 1 and 9 and put them into my expression. So if I have the square root of 4x is equal to x minus 3, I'll start off with the value of 1. So I have the square root of 4 times 1 is equal to 1 minus 3. 4 times 1 is 4, so I have the square root of 4 is equal to 1 minus 3 is negative 2. The square root of 4 is 2. 2 does not equal negative 2. So I can cross off A and I can cross off C because I know this value of 1 doesn't work. Next, I'm going to try the value of 9. So again, I have the square root of 4x is equal to x minus 3. So the square root of 4 times 9 is equal to 9 minus 3. 4 times 9 is 36. 9 minus 3 is 6. The square root of 36 is 6, right? So when I have a value of 9 for x, my equation works. So my answer is going to be B, 2 only. Number 15 gives me two equations. Negative 3x plus y is equal to 6, and ax plus 2y is equal to 4. The question says, in the system of equations above, a is a constant. For which of the following values of a does the system have no solution? So if my system of equations has no solution, that means my lines are going to be parallel. I want the same slope, but a different y-intercept. This will mean they travel next to each other and never intersect, so there's no solution. I could convert my equations into y is equal to mx plus b form, but I don't even necessarily need to do that for this question. The only thing I'm focused on is the coefficient for my x and the coefficient for my y. Since my bottom equation has a coefficient of 2 in front of my y, I'm going to start by just multiplying my top equation by 2 so the coefficient in front of my y matches. Once I do that, I'll get negative 6x plus 2y is equal to 12. My bottom equation is still ax plus 2y is equal to 4. So if I want my coefficients to match, that means my value of a would need to equal negative 6. If I substitute that value in, I'll get negative 6x plus 2y is equal to 4. And that's what I want. I want the same coefficient for my x and y. So I have negative 6x plus 2y is equal to 12, and negative 6x plus 2y is equal to 4, because these same expressions will equal totally different things, right? One is equal to 12, one is equal to 4, so they will have no solution. Here's the answer key for the questions we just reviewed. Thanks for watching, and check out my other videos for more SAT math help.